Here are my 2020-2021 NBA Eastern Conference predictions. The 8 teams I have on top when the year is all said and done. Honorable mention to the Indiana Pacers, who I originally had in this video, but it's a good thing I waited a little bit because the Russell Westbrook trade happened between the Washington Wizards and Houston Rockets. Also, the Indiana Pacers are in a weird spot this year. They got a new coach and 2 of their top players don't want to be there apparently, in Victor Oladipo and Miles Turner. They haven't moved on from either of them, and I can't see both of these players on the same team at the end of the season. So at the 8th spot, I have the Atlanta Hawks, and I feel like this is one of those teams where a lot of people are going to be gassing up, saying that they deserve a higher seed at the end of the year simply for the amazing offseason that they had. And I agree, they did amazing pickups. They added a whole lot of defense, whole lot of shooting, and on paper it looks great. But they were the 2nd worst team in the Eastern Conference. They're not just going to magically shoot up and be one of the top teams, I feel. They're going to be fun to watch, and their lineup is going to be very interchangeable. I have Danilo Gallinari starting at small forward, but realistically it'll probably be DeAndre Hunter for his defense. Their biggest problem right now is their unproven head coach. This team was put together this offseason to compete, and if they're not competing and having a winning record, their coach is easily on the hot seat and is most likely going to be on his way out by the end of the year. This team is definitely talented enough to make the playoffs. At the 7th spot, I have the Washington Wizards with the newly acquired Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is going to go absolutely crazy. He's going to be looking like OKC triple-double Russell Westbrook. And personally, I feel like they have 5 or 6 guys they can rely on throughout the year, and I don't know if that's going to be enough, but they definitely got more star power than the Atlanta Hawks, while the Atlanta Hawks are a much more deeper team than this Wizards squad is. Star power alone gets you pretty far in the NBA, and one of the biggest things I'm excited for if the Washington Wizards make the playoffs is the improvement to Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal has definitely become an all-star and a player that a lot of teams want to have on their team. The last memory I have of him in the playoffs was chucking up a bunch of threes and missing against the Toronto Raptors, so I want to see improvement, and I think this year is going to be improvement for the Washington Wizards with Russell Westbrook now there. At the 6th spot, I have the Toronto Raptors, who are always a great regular season team, but they took some hits this offseason. They kept Fred VanVleet, which was a plus for them, but unfortunately they let 2 of their centers leave who were key on the defensive end in Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol. They replaced them with Aaron Baines, who's decent, but that's not giving them nearly enough from what they had last year. Although it hurts to lose these reliable players, it also gives the Raptors to go with their unproven guys like Chris Boucher, see if he has anything to offer, Stanley Johnson, Matt Thomas, who's a sniper from 3, along with Terrence Davis giving you production that he did last year. It's a nice little mixture of veteran guys and young guys ready to prove what they're able to do, and I think the Raptors will still be competitive, but they're definitely not the Raptors of last year, and I feel like the Raptors are one of many teams waiting to see what happens next year with Giannis, if he stays in Milwaukee or not. At the 5th spot, I have the Philadelphia 76ers, who got better by getting rid of guys like Al Horford, Josh Richardson, who was just eating away all of their contract room, to get a 1-year rental in Danny Green and Seth Curry on a lighter deal, not only in terms of contract wise, but shooting wise, to go alongside Ben Simmons, who's terrified of shooting threes, and Joel Embiid. This is a recipe for success. Tobias Harris got that max contract deal he currently has with the Sixers based off his performance with the Clippers when Doc Rivers was the coach, and now Doc Rivers is the head coach for the Philadelphia 76ers. So it's going to be interesting to see if Tobias Harris could get somewhere close to where he was, because for a while it wasn't looking good for the Sixers' future, and being a 5 seed, that's in the middle of the pack. That's because there's a lot more Eastern Conference teams on the up and up, and I feel the Sixers, they're going to get left behind soon if they don't do something next year. At the 4th spot, I have the Miami Heat. A lot of people say this was a fluke for the Miami Heat to win the Eastern Conference and make it to the finals, and they're not as good as people think. And to some extent, I agree, but I also disagree, because this team is built for the playoffs. Yes, they could build up the confidence from the finals, but talent-wise, I don't think they have enough. In fact, I think they got a little bit worse by letting go of Jay Crowder and picking up Mo Harkless to be his replacement. This team, just like the Raptors, are waiting to see what Giannis does this upcoming season, and it's going to kind of hurt them this year because a couple of teams above them that I have got better, and these two teams that I'm going to mention are going to be competing for that NBA Finals spot and could possibly dethrone the Miami Heat to get there. The third spot, I have the Brooklyn Nets, who have Kevin Durant coming back from a major injury, tearing his Achilles. Hopefully Kevin Durant can come back and be the Kevin Durant we all know. I would have the Brooklyn Nets one spot higher than they are right now, but the uncertainty of Kevin Durant, how often he's going to be sitting for rest, and just the chemistry as a whole will add up with the new head coach of Steve Nash. And with the rumors of James Harden wanting out and going to Brooklyn, a big three of Kyrie, Harden, and Durant, that team is definitely going to be the favorite to win the finals. I don't think it's going to happen, but it'd be crazy to see three offensive juggernauts just dribbling the air out the basketball. Realistically, this team doesn't need James Harden. It is already good enough with the players they have. They could use a better power forward and add some depth there, but overall, this team's solid. The second spot, I have the Boston Celtics, who gave Jason Tatum a max contract, and I feel like Jason Tatum's time to step out and become this next level superstar is going to be this season. With Gordon Hayward leaving the team for Charlotte, I think this is going to be a prime opportunity for Jason Tatum to continue to elevate his game, although that's a big loss for them, and they didn't quite replace Gordon Hayward. They added to other positions like their backup point guard spot and getting an actual center in Tristan Thompson. And Aaron Nesmith, who eventually in a few years down the line I feel will take up that Gordon Hayward role. Not in terms of play style, because Aaron Nesmith is a way better shooter than Gordon Hayward and was one of the best shooters in this NBA draft, but more so the offensive role that Gordon Hayward had with this Boston Celtics team. It'll be interesting to see if it happens day one or if it will take a few years, but the Celtics are definitely a bright team for the future. And at the one spot, I have the Milwaukee Bucks. Although they'll have the best record in the East this season, most likely, I don't think they're the favorites, especially losing to Miami. They have to prove that they're able to beat them, and the additions they added this offseason, they added a whole lot. They definitely overhauled this roster and made it more effective. Every single player that they added, Jrue Holiday being the main one, but the role guys like Forbes, Torrey Craig, Bobby Portis, DJ Augustin, these are all players that started last year. I have Forbes in that starting projected lineup just because Greg Popovich said he works harder than everybody else. So if that's the case, he'll probably work harder than DiVincenzo, Pat Connaughton, and all the other guards they got there, right? He'll bring you absolutely nothing on defense, but he's a shooter. Giannis needs shooters around him. I love what the Bucks did, but who knows if this is enough to keep Giannis or even get to the NBA Finals, which is the ultimate goal, to win a championship. If they were able to get Bojan Bogdanovic, I think that would have been able to set them a little bit further apart than the rest of the East. But as of right now, it's anybody's game. With that said, do you agree with my opinions? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comment section below. Ready for some help, no more got my back, started putting work in. Every day I pray it wasn't fucking working. Family falling apart, got me up and losing focus, losing all the focus. I'm trying to make a change and not run up the change. I'm trying to reach my purpose,